So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Eazy Conversations. Thanks a lot to everyone who listened to the last episode featuring the homie Matt and I. I hope you enjoyed listening to us provide our NHL playoffs recap coverage and offered our predictions, some of which happened to be very wrong, but we'll move past those and focus on the ones we got right. So, I hope you enjoyed that. So now for episode 89 of Eazy Conversations. I'm extremely excited, of course, to be back in the studio virtually with the homie Matt. So what's up to the people?
What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone's having a great day. I'm super pumped for tonight's episode. We're going to be talking about my favorite thing in the world. And we have an amazing guest tonight. I can't wait to meet him and discuss the topic with him. So, Eric, why don't you introduce him?
Absolutely. It's been a while since we've done an episode like this. And going back to what we all know and love, movies. So extremely excited to introduce to the podcast another film aficionado, the homie Nick, a.k.a. Nezz Bedard. So that's up to the people.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I love talking movies. I watch movies every single day, and I'm really excited to get this going.
Same here. We're super happy to have you on. And yeah, for this episode, we're going to be going over basically a multiverse of film genres. It's going to be a general discussion about film, and yeah, we're going to be pretty much tackling a bunch of different genres, talking about our likes and dislikes, stereotypes and tropes that we would find in each genre, and probably a bunch of other stuff. So I don't even know in which direction we're going, but I'm excited for it, and I'll throw it over to you first, Nez, to kick us off, and for all of us to get to know your interest in film as well. What would you say is your favorite film genre?
My favorite film genre, I would have to go, with drama, obviously, because, for me, when I watch movies, I like to be touched on a more personal note. I refer back to what Martin Scorsese said years and years ago, where he said, the best films are personal films, and that to me couldn't hold true. It's so true. And you watch these films, and we're going to talk about foreign movies, I'm sure. And for me, the drama genre can go so many different ways. And the reason why I like it so much is because I'm a very emotional person, and I don't hide it. I bawl my eyes out at movies. I don't care who's watching. So for me, the more dramatic it is and the more Shakespearean it is, I love it. And sometimes it can get corny and stuff like that. But, for me, definitely drama. But it's such an open-ended question because, I love Westerns. I love, space movies. I think that, Interstellar is one of the great movies of the last, decade, 2 decades. So for me, and, I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan, which I could talk about him for 3 hours, but so definitely the drama genre for me. But once you're inside the drama genre, you can really pinpoint like any other drama, and you can just insert dramatic notions in those genres. But yeah, I would definitely go drama just for the personal touch, and because I'm just super emotional, and so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great choice. I mean, dramas. The best movies I've watched are all their dramas, right? Like, to me, that's the genre with the best movies. And yes, I like what you said, like the Martin Scorsese quote. Personal movies, the movies that have hit me the hardest have been super, like, I can relate so much to some of the things in the movie, or just hit me in the feels. Like, I love horror movies and Marvel movies, but those are just like roller coaster movies for me, where I just have fun and then get off the ride at the end and never forget. Like, I don't think about them too much after.
It's funny. It's funny that you say that you like Marvel movies, because I hate them. So I think there's something there. But no, yeah. Look, and in my introduction, and this is just a small story, and we were talking before we started recording. I said that I'm a historian. Like, I studied history. I'm about to start teaching history in high school. So I have a lot of personal stories. I like telling stories. But in my introduction, Eric sort of said, Nick Nezz Bedard, and there's a funny story to that, and it has something to do with movies. My name is, my real name is Nicholas, but if you ask around, everyone calls me Nezz. And Eric knows this. I've been called Nezz since a young age, and where that came from was from Toy Story, believe it or not. And there's the original Toy Story. There's a scene where Woody is extremely sad. He's at a tea party, and he's extremely sad because he was told that he wasn't. Buzz. Buzz is at a tea party, and he's extremely sad because he was told that he wasn't a real superhero. Mm-hmm. And he's sitting there, and he's sad, and he has this purple sort of hat on. Mm. And Woody walks in, and Woody, he's always full of energy, and he starts to try and cheer up Buzz. And at one point he notices the hat, and he sort of starts calling him Mrs. Nesbitt just to make fun of him, trying to make him laugh. And when I was about, I don't know, I think I was like really young, 8 months old, maybe like 1, I was sleeping, and my brother walked into my room, and he took Woody's cowboy hat, and he put it on my head. And I still have the picture. My mom still has the picture. I think she looks at it every single day. But they started calling me Nesbitt. And then out of the blue, Nezz just came along, and I wouldn't be the guy I am today if my name wasn't Nezz. I would just be another Nicholas that's just there. But everyone knew Nezz. Everyone knows who Nezz is, and it's all because of Toy Story, and that I have movies to thank, and that's why I love movies so much, because they do this to us. They give us those personal stories all the time, and that's it's an awesome way to just have a nickname, and it's a great story too.
100%. You said a lot in there, and one of the things that you talked about was your disdain, perhaps, of comic book movies. And it's funny that you mentioned Scorsese, who also is a noted anti-comic book movie. That's his stance on comic book movies, that he's really not a fan of them. And I know it's like such a tough question that I hit you with at first, like, what's your favorite film genre? I would say drama for me as well, but it's tough to definitively say one that you want to watch or that is your favorite, because you might be in the mood for something like a horror, like Matt said, or comic book. Me too. Like, I love comic book movies personally. Like, I'm a huge Marvel guy, but I can also appreciate a nice drama here and there. But I think the nice thing about a drama is that it's grounded in reality. It has those moments that brings a tear to your eye oftentimes and are relatable, like Matt said as well. And and also, like you mentioned, Toy Story. I'm also super pumped for Lightyear coming out next Friday at the time of recording. I don't know what you guys think about that coming up, but absolutely. Also a huge animated movie guy. Those are underrated. I feel like they are not just for kids. But I'd forgotten about. I'm sure I knew that story about your name, Nezz, and that's just awesome. And as you were telling it, I was like, wait, Woody at a tea party? I was so confused just trying to piece that scene together.
And it's important to say right off the bat, I don't hate comic book movies. I hate Marvel movies.
Okay.
Because, and I don't know if I'm contradicting myself here, because my favorite movie of all time is The Dark Knight.
That's cool.
And it's not even remotely close.
Great. Wow.
And another story. I'm sorry about all my stories, but another story of that is, I grew up on when The Dark Knight came out. I was 11 years old. Okay, and I saw it in theaters about 3 days after it came out. My dad's a huge Batman fan. So am I. I love Batman. I thought the new one that came out earlier this year was really good. Obviously not even close to The Dark Knight. I walk in. I'm 11 years old, and The Dark Knight, if you look at it from a lens, it's a very complex story. It's very post 9/11 war on terror, a lot of spying and etc. So it's a very complex movie. If you're 11 years old, you're sort of like you're like, okay, like I'm sort of just along for the ride, okay. And so I walk into the theater. I'm really excited. My dad had already seen it, and he's like, holy, Nezz, you're gonna love this, nah. So I walk in, and 11 years old, holy crap, and I sit down, and the lady sitting to my left, she's about 50 years old, and she reeks of cigarettes, like absolute, like just like walking into a casino in Vegas, like just hits you with the wall, and I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like I have to sit beside this for 2.5 hours, and but whatever, and so I sit down, and I gotta say, and this is gonna sound really weird, but I gotta say that I enjoyed the movie a lot more because that lady was sitting beside me. The reason why is that all my senses watching Heath Ledger's Joker were in full effect, because as Heath Ledger was on screen, I was sort of imagining that this is how he smelled. So I was watching him, I was hearing him, and I was smelling him at the same time, and I was like, oh my god, like I can't believe it. Like I actually think that like made it better for me, because that's how I imagined him, smelling it. And I mentioned it earlier already, but Christopher Nolan, I think he did a masterful job with Dark Knight. And I think that The Dark Knight, the reason why I love The Dark Knight are the reasons why I don't like Marvel. And so I can explain that in more detail, but yeah, it's just, I'm a huge Tobey Maguire fan, like the Spider-Mans of Tobey Maguire. I was like, grew up on those movies. I loved them. I thought Sam Raimi did a fantastic job with those Spider-Mans. But yeah, the new Marvel age, like all the Avengers and all that, for me, just really, really doesn't do it.
Is one of the reasons maybe why you're not a fan of those movies, like the tone that it's more geared towards making kids laugh and like entertained, and maybe, as Matt has pointed out in past episodes, too much plot convenience, and everything's just spoon fed to you as a Marvel viewer. Like they're not really making you think as much, and not as many underlying tones like you have in The Dark Knight, like the war on terrorism, like you said. Like, there's a lot going on in The Dark Knight, which you don't really have in that many of the Marvel movies. Like some of them I feel like do address important themes, like Black Panther, and I can't really think of another one off the top there, but they're more like straightforward movies, like just what you see is what you get kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'll take the new Spider-Man for example. And so the new Spider-Man, I was very excited to see it. Because like I said, I'm a huge Tobey Maguire fan, and I'm also a huge Andrew Garfield fan. I think Andrew Garfield is one of the best, like, I'm not saying he is, but he's a top tier actor. Every role that he has, he kills. Eduardo Saverin, him playing Eduardo Saverin in The Social Network, I think is just an incredible performance. His Netflix, I don't watch Netflix movies. They all suck, but Tick Tick Boom came out. He's incredible in that. Hacksaw Ridge, he's good. He does it, and he was good. Those Spider-Mans, the Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans, they get a lot of hate, but I actually think that like out of the three, Tom Holland, Toby, like he's obviously, in my opinion, the better actor, and that's not a feat on Tobey Maguire or Tom Holland. I just think that Andrew Garfield is that good. And I actually really so I was really excited to see the new Spider-Man. I was like, you know what? I knew they were in there before I went in. Obviously, I think it was like the worst kept secret in Hollywood. But, and I thought it was just, like you said, like spoon-fed, like, enjoy this, like, this fanfare, like, enjoy this nostalgia. They just try to shove nostalgia down your throat so much, which I can get appeals to a lot of people. And I totally get that. But for me, it just doesn't do it. I thought the first half of that movie with all the Doctor Strange stuff was kind of whack. Like I didn't particularly enjoy like the first half. And when they came in, like when Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire came in, that's what I was most like excited for. I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to like see them come in at like a really good time, and you know, like holy crap. And they come in, and Tobey Maguire walks into a kitchen with a t-shirt and jeans on. I'm like, what is this? What are we doing? Are you kidding me? This is Spider-Man. He should be flinging in like in time of need. He walks in with jeans and a t-shirt. I'm like, are you kidding me, man?
Is that a different point in his life? You know, he's.
Yeah, I get that, but like, there's so many cool things that they could have done, and he's just in a random old aunt's kitchen, like just there with Zendaya and the other guy. I don't even know his name.
Ned.
And Andrew Garfield's there too, and there's sort of like, and in that moment there were a lot of jokes that, like, in my opinion, landed flat. I was like, okay, like, what's going on? And then, you know, I thought there were some good moments in like the last battle with all the villains, and there was a few times where, like, and this is my nerd coming out, but like there's a few times where like the soundtrack of like the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans came out. When they were having their moment, their soundtrack came in, and I thought that was really cool. But I thought like a lot of it was anticlimactic. Like I was sort of like ready to like jump out of my seat, but then I was like, oh, like, come on. The one thing I will say about that movie is the ending was very good. Like the very, very last part where Zendaya and his other friend don't know who he is. Yeah. And this is very Christopher Nolan, and this is very, you know, this is a page out of the Dark Knight. I thought that might be my opinion, but it is a very, very much a page out of the Dark Knight, where he sort of takes the moral route of, you know, I'm gonna protect them, I'm gonna save them, and I'm not gonna tell them who I am. I'm just gonna walk out. And he's in that cafe, and he just walks out, and he's like, they're better off this way. And you see that in the Dark Knight, where, you know, Batman sort of, you know, you either. And it's exactly this quote, like the Spider-Man ends on this quote. It's, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain, right? And that's how Spider-Man ends. Like a new one. Like that's, in my opinion, that's how it ends. And the Dark Knight, you know, he sort of takes the fall for what Harvey Dent did, and he's sort of like, you know what, I'm gonna be the bad guy. I'm gonna lose. You know, because that's what I can do. I'm that hero. I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna lose everything that I have, so that other people can sleep safe tonight. And I thought that was a really good ending. And that was like, they're going away from all the Marvel, and they're more like friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in that ending, which I enjoyed and I appreciate.
That's fair. We had a whole Dark Knight episode, Nezz, me and Eric.
No.
Well, okay.
No.
Go back and check it out. It's a great episode.
You might hate me now and shut off your phone or something. But like I'm in the. To me, the Dark Knight's overrated. Basically, I love the movie. I just think it's held at such a high regard. It's obscuring all these other classics or movies that should be regarded as classics that aren't.
Sure.
And Eric was defending the movie, so I don't want to get into a whole Dark Knight.
I was just gonna say.
I love Memento. Memento is in my top 10 favorite movies. Like that's my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. I could watch it anytime, over and over again. But it's just the Dark Knight. Like, I'm just tired of hearing. Like, you want to me, a movie like Heat with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, like that's like 10 times better than the Dark Knight, and has a lot of similarities. And probably Nolan will be so
Heat Michael Mann, I think, directed that movie. Heat is a phenomenal, like, it's a really good movie. And look, I understand what you're saying, but I just think that, like, coming off the Tim Burton and the Val Kilmer Batmans and the Batman and Robin, which are atrocities.
Yeah, but Dark Knight is ranked third all time on the IMDb. Like,
I know.
Do you think that's ridiculous? As
it should. There you go, Matt. You heard it here first.
As a historian, you agree? Above like Seven Samurai and all those like established classics, you think Dark Knight should be ranked third?
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
Unfortunately, like, I do agree. I just think that, like.
Okay.
Nezz, to not put the listeners through another why the Dark Knight belongs in the best movies of all time debates, They know what it is. We all know it belongs up there. You gave a great rundown on The Dark Knight as well earlier, and that's why like when you messaged me and we talked about some topics we could talk about, it's maybe a shame we didn't have you on for the Dark Knight episode as well, because that was a great debate and I could have used you and would have clearly won had you been on my side for that one. But it's all good. We can put that one to rest.
Okay.
I've never seen Heat, actually. And I was debating starting to watch it the other day. It is on Netflix, almost 3 hours long, kind of a commit. So you would recommend Heat. And would that fall under, is that a mafia movie, like a crime movie, or is that a drama as well?
Crime drama.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a crime drama. It's like a basically an it's a cop versus bad guy movie, kind of. Like and it's the first time that Robert De Niro and Al Pacino were on screen together.
Okay.
Believe it or not. And then
so
they came back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Heat, like,
they came back for Irishman.
Yeah, that's right. But speaking of Heat, like, speaking of dramas, like, Heat's one of my favorite, like, movies like that. That's why I like dramas. All my favorite movies are like Goodfellas. Like, Scorsese's my man. Like, all he's my top.
Yeah, it was, and he deserves those,
right?
That praise. I tend to I love mafia movies. And we're talking about the IMDb list. Like Godfather ranks second behind Shawshank, and I think that I was late watching The Godfather. It was my dad, my uncle's favorite movie. I was really late in watching it, and I had seen all the Goodfellas, Casino. I had seen a lot of mafia movies before I had seen The Godfather, and that's why I was sort of pulling it. Like, I was putting it aside. I was like, what? I've seen mafia movies. I love them. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I know what they're all about. And I feel like I'm just so late in watching The Godfather. And, like, I've seen so many mafia movies. Because it was so popular because The Godfather was, like, one of, like, the first mafia movies to come out, basically, right? And that's why it was, like, holy crap. And so it was... but I watched it, and it was, like... it's incredible. Like, The Godfather, and I know this is super basic and blah blah blah, but like The Godfather really is like a master class in storytelling, and that's what it's all about, man. Like that's what drama movies are all about. It's you need to have a good story, and for me, another guy that I love when it comes to drama is Aaron Sorkin. And he's not he started directing his own movies recently with Trial of the Chicago 7 but Aaron Sorkin is one of the great writers, and people don't like him for certain reasons, but he wrote The Social Network. He literally wrote the line, you want the truth, you can't handle the truth, in A Few Good Men. He wrote Moneyball, which is I'm an Oakland A's fan because of Moneyball. So for me, Aaron Sorkin, Quentin Tarantino came out and said that the best movie of the 2010s was The Social Network. Quentin Tarantino, for God's sake. And he said, best movie, and David Fincher directed that one. It was written by Sorkin. And for me, Interstellar, I think, takes the cake in the 2010s. Like, I watched Interstellar in IMAX, and like I walked out of there with Dallas, who was on your podcast, who's my movie buddy. We talk movies all the time, and I walked out of there. Me and Dallas didn't say a word until we got home. We're like, I can't believe Interstellar. Like, I was shook to my core. But The Social Network is so good. I thought there were so many good lines. Like, if you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook. There's so many good lines in that movie, and I think it's so good.
I just want to bring it back to something Eric said and you said, Nezz. You said you were very emotional when you watch movies. I am too. Like, I'll have strong physical reactions, and sometimes I have to hide them if I'm like in a crowd. But like, and Eric, you talked about animated movies, how like they can actually like the saddest movies I've ever watched were actually animated. That would be Brave of the Fireflies, which is a Japanese animated movie. It's the saddest movie I've ever seen, the World War II movie. So like that just, I had what you said, Nezz, like emotional reactions, and it was an animated movie. So like, don't discount those. And I know a lot of people do. You can get some good dramas, like adult movies too, not just like the Studio Ghibli movies, but like there's other ones too.
Well, I want to say like animated movies, I think, are universally the most pound for pound tearjerker movies out there, right? Like for the ones I've seen, anyways, like almost all of them evoke some sort of sad reaction on me, whether it's actual tears or like fighting them off, right? And I can think of like the Inside Out movie that destroyed me. Shout rip Bing Bong, my guy. And but there's a lot that was said earlier that I would want to comment on, but some of them we'll have to move past. But just to wrap up, maybe the drama genre. You said, Matt, that you'd say Goodfellas a drama and not a mafia movie. That's what maybe makes drama such a universal category that can be many people's favorite category, right? Because in my mind, Goodfellas, I wouldn't classify it as a drama. I think mafia movies is its own entity, and Godfather would be in there as well. That's just my opinion on that.
Mafia's too niche, though, so it'd be like
Mafia's too niche.
Drama genre.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point.
So just so I get it clear, when you say like animated movies, are you talking like Pixar animated, like Disney, or like anime?
Anything, animation or anime, like any Japanese, anything that's not like live action, basically.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like I watched a few months ago. I watched Soul, which I thought was very good.
Yeah.
Like for me, like anime, I don't watch. I will watch I think Pixar and Disney do like a really really good job with their animated movies. Like
Agreed.
I think they do so well. But it's definitely like something like a type of movie that I wish I would watch more. But for me, and I totally understand what you guys are coming from, but for me, like the live action and like really feeling like, like I could be like one of these actors in this moment, like that for me is something that like doesn't really like compare to anything.
Gotcha.
But to close out drama, Nezz, can you shoot out like 5 titles just off the top of your head of like recommendations like people should see? They can be from any decade.
In the last like
any movie dramas. I can start off. Yeah,
go ahead. That's such a big question. I'd have to think about it.
Yeah, like I'm thinking of like there's old Hollywood movies that are amazing dramas. Like 12 Angry Men.
That was one of my ones.
The best. Yeah. 12 Angry Men, The Best Years of Our Lives. I like movies like Magnolia, like any Paul Thomas Anderson movie I love. So those are more like I watch a lot of old Hollywood movies too, and like those are the best. Oh, I love them.
I would say 12 Angry Men for sure. It's a Wonderful Life for sure.
Yeah.
I think that It's a Wonderful Life is another really really good movie. I want to say like some of my favorite dramas are foreign movies.
Okay, shoot them off.
So one is definitely like Life is Beautiful. So that's an Italian film. It's about a guy his family they get put in a concentration camp, and he's with his son the entire time, and he basically tells his son that they're in like a summer camp and like they're playing a game and like you have to keep score and I'm gonna so that's definitely one. I think that one movie that really introduced me to foreign films, I saw it in class in high school, was Les Intouchables, and they redid that movie with Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston, but I haven't even seen that version. I don't want to either. But Les Intouchables is definitely one. One movie that I really really enjoyed, like holy crap, it's Requiem for a Dream.
Oh yeah.
that movie, and I'm telling you, and I recommend, and it's not for the faint of heart. Like, it's not. It's about drug addiction, and it's really, really like gory. Like, I watched that movie, and I like it, like Interstellar. It was a different feeling though. Like, I didn't say a word for like, I think, an hour. I just stared at my TV for an hour, and I was like that shook me to my core, because with like the opioid crisis that's happened, and it's such a. I recommend that movie to anyone. When I get asked recommendations, I say, you have to watch Requiem for a Dream. It's gonna really change your outlook on life. Darren Aronofsky does a phenomenal job there.
Nez, what's the connection between Interstellar and Requiem for a Dream?
Well, I don't know. Oh, well, because when I was talking about Interstellar, I sort of said that I didn't say a word for like the last like half hour after, so I was just comparing the two, but
for a different reason though. Sure.
No, I'm talking like actress wise, but
what?
I'm talking about Ellen Burstyn in Requiem for a Dream. She plays like Mom in Requiem. She's in Interstellar, so I thought that was cool. Those are two movies with her that you can talk for an hour after.
And I think and just like the Interstellar, like the scene with Ellen Bernstein at the end, with McConaughey, where she's like, "I knew you'd come back," and he says how, and she says, "Because my dad promised me." The audience in that movie theater didn't stand a chance. I was crying, but that's a cheat code though, because Interstellar, like the soundtrack by Hans Zimmer. I'm a huge Hans Zimmer fan. I have a frame of him in my room. I like Hans Zimmer. To me, is a god, just like John Williams with the the Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Schindler's List and all those. But Hans Zimmer to me, I think, is one of, and that's sort of why I love The Dark Knight. I thought his Dark Knight soundtrack was incredible. Inception. I mean, I still think that Time by Hans Zimmer is one of the great pieces of music that's not like a classical piece. So yeah, Hans Zimmer, and he did the new Top Gun, which he killed. And speaking of recommendations, I don't know if you guys have seen it. The new Top Gun is sensational.
I actually fired it off last episode as a recommendation. Loved it, man. It was so good.
Oh my god! And I love the original. A lot of people don't like the original one. I like it. I think it's fine. I think it's fine. There's no real plot though in the first one. Like, there's no story. It's just And my roommate said this when he watched the first one. He sort of said just like Tom Cruise looking cool, and I was like, yeah, you know what, you're right. But it's still like a cool movie. This one though is like, holy crap, good. Like, I walked out of there. I watched it in IMAX. I walked out of there and I was like, that's a movie right there, folks. That was really, really good. And Jennifer Connelly is beautiful as always.
Should we move to a different genre, Eric?
Yeah, we can do that for sure. I was just thinking about drama though, because there's so much we could talk about, and even the tears that you talked about as well. Like, that's the only genre that really gets that reaction out of you. And I know a lot of people who do seek these movies that kind of make you cry. And like, do you have some of those movies that you could recommend that are like really hit home? Maybe they could be personal or just intense movies, or unless you gave enough recommendations, you think, in the ones that you gave.
I think that one movie that made me cry. I think this was like the first movie that like really made me bawl my eyes out. Like, I was like legit. I think my dad heard me from. I was watching it in my basement. My dad heard me cry upstairs. Was The Pursuit of Happiness. Like, the ending there, I was sent me. It really did. One other movie that doesn't get talked a lot about, and this because I cried because I'm such a huge Disney fan, is Saving Mr. Banks. It's about the process of acquiring the rights to a film for Mary Poppins from from the novelist, and it's so good. And you hear the classic jingles from Mary Poppins, and I think that's a great movie. And Requiem for a Dream made me cry because like that. Overall, that movie like really like it really sends you to like a different place like mentally. Like it's so good. Another Darren Aronofsky movie that's really sad is The Wrestler, which is really good. It's so good. Like, oh my God, I can't. Darren Aronofsky kills it. He had one really bad movie recently called Mother. Oh, don't recommend that one. But like it's just too complex. I read like what it was about after, and I was like, I didn't get that at all. But okay. And Black Swan with Natalie Portman and Mila Kunis is really good too. That's another one. Darren Aronofsky really does a good job of putting you inside that character's head. Every character that he has really puts you in their head, and he does this with beautiful direction and beautiful camera shots. And he really like makes your high, you have high blood pressure when you're watching his movies because you're like, what is going on? Like what's about to happen to, you feel like it's about to happen to you, and I think he does a phenomenal job of that. But yeah, another one that I really enjoyed is, and this is another foreign film, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I think that is a phenomenal movie, really good. The Lives of Others.
Yes.
The Lives of Others is so good. It's one. It's overall, it's not my favorite. And I'm gonna take a screenshot of my foreign movie list, and when you guys post this, you guys can post my list too. But it's not my favorite. But I think overall, when it comes to foreign movies, that's the most complete movie. When it comes to foreign movies. But yeah. It's really something. A Bronx Tale is really good, and that's A Bronx Tale was the first one that was on Broadway, a movie, and a musical. It was the first ever movie to be all three. Robert De Niro. That was Robert De Niro's directorial debut as well, and I think that movie's really good. So yeah.
I just want to interject. Like, Lives of Others is my second favorite movie of all time. Like, I watch that one every year.
Yeah.
It's like, it goes Goodfellas, Lives of Others, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull for my top 4 of all time.
Oh, wow.
I love Lives of Others. I could talk, I've dissected that movie. It's so, the ending hits me every time.
The ending is so good.
Yeah.
I've only seen that movie once. It was in school a long time ago. I hardly remember it though, so I should probably give it a rewatch. And that might be a good segue into, because we've mentioned foreign movies a few times, and we're actually debating doing a full episode on this topic. But I think if we analyze foreign film right now in this segment of our episode, that'd be a good discussion around it. And Nezz, you mentioned Les Intouchables as kind of what introduced you to foreign, and we all speak French, the three of us, so easy first movie to watch. And what do you look for when you decide to watch a foreign movie? What do you love about them, and what are some recommendations as well? There, we can get into that, but just kick us off there.
Well, here's the thing with foreign movies, and this is one thing that really bothers me is like when Parasite came out, it was a huge hit, right? We all remember that. Everyone was talking about Parasite and whatever, and it, I think, the Oscars are kind of trash now, but they're way too political and whatever. But I think that Bong Joon-ho winning Best Foreign Film, Best Director, and Parasite winning Best Picture is one of the great moments in Oscar history. I really do. One thing though that Bong Joon-ho got asked, why do you think Americans love Parasite so much? I didn't like his answer because I don't think it's true. But I'm sure he thinks it's true, but I don't think it's true. He said because it's about capitalism, and Americans love capitalism. I don't think that's true at all. I think that this movie was just so good, and people got notice of it and said, okay, I'll watch it, and they liked it. And that's just foreign movies. And they just gave it a chance, and they liked it. And that's what I've been telling people. Is just give foreign movies a chance, and it's gonna blow your socks off. Like, and I just think it's as simple as that. It's not because it's about capitalism. Like when I watched Parasite, I didn't, I didn't say, oh, capitalism, yay. No, I said this is foreign. These are foreign movies. Like this is, this is just how good they are, right? But foreign movies to me are so much like obviously they're so different than Hollywood movies because, and I come back to the Scorsese quote that I started off with. It was the best movies are personal movies, and they don't have the foreign movies don't have the budgets. They don't have production companies throwing money at them. They work with what they have, right? And so the stories are really, really personal, and that's why I like them so much. It's because you don't get the, sorry guys, but you don't get the Marvel, you don't get the this and the that, and like he comes in to save the day and nah. You get the like, wow, like that's a sad ending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like the good guy doesn't win in foreign movies.
Real life, a little more maybe grounded in reality. Go ahead, Matt.
No, Nezz, like you're like me. You're like me from like when I was your age. Like I was just like, I've slowed down on movies because like my life's gotten busier. But like, man, when you said watch a movie a day, I'm like that was me at that age. I was watching 1 or 2 a day, man. I was writing them all down too. I can't wait to check out your Letterboxd after the show, actually. But speaking of Paris, you go ahead, Nezz. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna geek out on Korean films, but you go first.
So, for me, I took a film class in university, and one thing that we talked about was neo-realism, and I think that a lot of what foreign movies do is based off neo-realism, and one that does this very well is Vittorio De Sica, and that's because it's Italian neo-realism, so it's really about post-World War II Italy and how much the people struggled after World War II, and it's about desperation. And one of the best foreign films that I've watched is Bicycle Thieves by Vittorio De Sica, and it's about desperation. And you see these different cultures, and you see that I don't know if this is gonna sound bad, but Hollywood makes it seem as though life is good over here, right? They really romanticize films and the cultures that we live in. Foreign films don't do that. They say, hey, this is how it is, and this is how it is here, and in post-war Italy, this is how it was, and it's about desperation. And Bicycle Thieves is about a guy who needs his bicycle to work, and it gets stolen. And the entire movie is him doing everything he possibly can to find his freaking bike.
Yeah.
And the ending to that movie is one of the great endings of all movies, and it doesn't get talked about enough.
Yeah, and also that Italian neo-realism is didn't shoot on set, shot on location, cast non-actors.
Yes.
The main character is a non-actor. Yeah, have you seen Umberto D as well?
I have.
That one I like even more.
Funny enough, I watched it this week.
Yeah, that's a great one. It's very sad.
That's another one. It's it's a guy who
pensioner,
can't pay rent, and he has to take care of his dog, man's best friend, right? And he can no longer take care of his dog, so he has to find ways to, and it's so good, and I think it stems a lot from that, but at the same time, there's so many good. I watched The Handmaiden by Park Chan-wook, whatever his name is, a few weeks ago, which is incredible. And he did Old Boy as well, which is a really gory movie, and it's very, very, very good. But and I don't know if you guys have seen this, but the number one recommendation that I have for foreign movies, the number one recommendation, if you like movies, if you're a movie lover and you want to watch a movie about movies, it's Cinema Paradiso.
Oh.
Yeah, brought it up before.
Yeah, Matt's brought it up.
I freaking insanely love that movie. How can you not smile at the last the clip montage?
The last 5 minutes of that movie. You know, if you're watching it in the complete darkness in your basement, you want to stand up and you want to start clapping. That's it's that good, and the entire movie is just really about, you know, just about the love of movies, man, and how, you know, they had it tough, man. That, you know, that's what it's all about, and you know, at the end of the day, when we're in tough, one of the things that, you know, brings us out of like what our lives are going through, it's movies. You know, you watch a movie, you're gone for 2 hours. You're not thinking about what's going on in your life, and that's one thing that if we do talk about, you know, the silent era and the golden age of Hollywood, like that's one thing that was really, really important, and that's what really kick-started the importance of Hollywood. It was the fact that at the end of the day, our lives may suck, but if we go watch a movie for that 2 hours, you know, our mind's gone, you know, and we're watching this movie. It's phenomenal.
Well, if we get into the silent movie era, I will be extremely silent for that segment of the pod because I've seen very little of these movies, but probably should go back.
So talking about, and sorry if I'm interrupting, but talking about the silent era is because when I was doing my placement for school, so I taught a grade 10 history class, and the grade 10 history class is like, you know, it's the World War One, in between the wars, World War II, Cold War, blah, 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 blah. And I became a teacher because I loved my grade 10 history class so much. When I was a student, I was like, I want to teach this class. And when I was doing my placement, I said, I started in between both wars. And I told my teacher, I was like, hey, I know it's not in the curriculum, but I want to talk about, you know, movies, because this was the time where like Hollywood really started to become a thing. And, you know, Charlie Chaplin, for example, like I haven't seen a lot of silent films either, but Modern Times by Charlie Chaplin is a movie that I did show in that grade 10 history class, and I will continue to show if I teach grade 10 moving forward. But we talk about drama, the drama genre. A lot of the comedic timings that happen in drama films, and it happened a lot in Top Gun. Like I thought that Top Gun, one thing that Top Gun, I know I'm flip-flopping, I'm sorry, but one thing that Top Gun did really well was that those corny dramatic moments, they finished it off with a really, really funny joke that landed really well, that made you laugh a lot. And that all stems from Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin, and he did it without words. Charlie Chaplin, there was a lot of times where like in the movie, in his movies, something bad would happen, and then like something would fall on his head, or like he would trip, or he would do something that would make you laugh. And you know, Charlie Chaplin is the reason, in my opinion, why, you know, films are films now. You know, he was so important to the start of Hollywood. Like I can't even imagine a life without him in that time. And during the Great Depression, during the Great Depression, nobody had money. But what did they do? They went to go see movies regardless. And that's what started the golden age of Hollywood, because as America was doing this, Hollywood was doing this, because people would find money to go see movies. During the Great Depression, they didn't have any money for food or anything, but they would always find time for entertainment to go watch movies. And a big part of that was Charlie Chaplin. Fritz Lang did a good job there as well. Mary Pickford, who's a Canadian icon. She's an icon. She's like one of the biggest Canadian icons in history. Like she was the female Charlie Chaplin at that time. Like she was like a huge Hollywood star, and she was Canadian. So the silent era was huge, and a lot of the comedic timings that we see in drama now that really sort of relieve the pressure when you're watching a drama, that all stems from Charlie Chaplin.
Interesting.
Movies became the perfect escapism. They became the main form of
and
escapism.
that's exactly what it was. And it's so funny because obviously the Great Depression at the time was worse, but like, you know, we're having a bad day or whatever, and for me anyways, one of the first things I say is, oh, I'm just gonna watch a movie tonight. You know, Friday night, I don't want to go out. I'm gonna be like, oh, you know, I just want to. You know, it's so easy because you can just turn it on, right?
COVID too, height of COVID, kind of our equivalent of a Great Depression. Can't go out, watch a movie.
Exactly.
And movies are like one of the maybe the four horsemen of the apocalypse, if you will, of things that people can have in common, and it literally just brings people together. Don't ask me what the other three are. Probably like music. Sports, hobbies, or anything.
And that's the thing. Like now we have sports, and we can just throw on our earphones and listen to music, and you know, we can go outside and you know, play basketball. At the time of the Great Depression, like they didn't, you know, they couldn't put earphones in and do all that. Like they had movies though, like and movies were really cheap at the time, so yeah.
Speaking of the Great Depression and foreign film, maybe to wrap up that discussion, have you seen the movie The Turin Horse? Or
no, I haven't.
Okay.
Good.
I've heard it's a slog, but holds up in some books. Okay.
Quick. Sorry to cut you off.
No, nothing. Go ahead.
Your favorite like country, like for foreign films, like is there a particular specific country you're attached to more, like you like those movies more from that country? And if you need time to think, I can rattle off some of my like foreign highlights, films that I like.
So I will let you rattle off because I'll answer quickly. I don't
actually answer first, Nezz, and then I'll rattle off.
Yeah, I don't have one. I don't when I watch foreign movies, and you mentioned Korean and like Japanese movies and all that. Like I think those are really, really good. And if I had to pick one, I think I'd choose that. But like I don't look at the countries when I watch a foreign film like at all. That to me has nothing to do with it.
Okay, I just go on kicks of like finding a foreign director, and then like for me, like Japan to me is like Kurosawa's black and white films, and and Korea for me is like the new wave Korea, the Korean Renaissance basically of the 21st century of like movies like Old Boy, I Saw the Devil, any like Kim Ji-woon, Park Chan-wook movie, Bong Joon-ho. Then like I love my German movies from the 70s, like the Werner Fassbinder dramas are amazing.
Right.
And even old school Italian movies. You mentioned Italian neorealism. I love those movies.
Big time.
I even like Fellini, who's more like the opposite of neorealism.
Yeah, Fellini's great. He really is great.
And French films are probably my favorite. Actually, France would be my country because it's in every genre, and it's like from the dawn of filmmaking to right now, the French have been making amazing movies.
Mm-hmm. And the thing that's good about French movies, especially like for us, is that we're French.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you know, we don't have to like I don't know about you guys, but like I don't watch movies like just Hollywood movies, like English movies. I don't watch with subtitles. So
big subtitles guy over here.
Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people are. And
it's picking up steam, you know.
Yeah, and that's totally fine to me. But like, for me, like the imagery and all that, I need to be focused on. I feel like I sort of, if I have subtitles, I feel like and I'm sort of contradicting myself a little bit, but like, for English movies, if I have subtitles, I feel like I somewhat disconnect from like, because I can understand, I can understand. So why just distract myself a little bit when I can just understand what they're saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I understand that like subtitles, you pick up on a lot more things. There's a lot more things that you pick up on when you read subtitles. And Bong Joon-ho said it, right? He said it like once you get through that 2 centimeters of subtitles, like you'll discover how great foreign movies are.
Oh yeah.
And that's what people don't want. They just and it's so dumb. Like, and I think like I just sort of like it comes to what I just said, which makes no sense. But like it's so dumb. It's like some people will watch English movies with subtitles, but when it comes to foreign movies, they don't want to read subtitles. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are you talking about? Like, the same thing. Like, are you kidding me? And I think that it's all like there's so many genres where I won't touch. Like, I'm not like a fantasy guy. Like, like I tried a million times to watch, and this is gonna sound crazy, but like I tried a million times to watch Game of Thrones. It just doesn't do it for me. Like the fantasy genre type thing just really, and people will have those, like, absolutely, like, and that's fine. Like, I don't knock on those people at all. But like for me, fantasy really doesn't, The Hobbit, and like I consider myself like a movie guy, but I admittedly have never watched Lord of the Rings because I just don't like fantasy. And that's crazy to me because Lord of the Rings is considered to be like obviously the greatest trilogy of all time. Like apart from maybe like I don't know, like Godfather 1 and 2, but but I've never watched them. One, they're very long, and two, it's fantasy, and I'm just like I can't do fantasy. I don't know what it is, but yeah.
They're not that. I mean, Dark Knight is a little bit shorter. Like, Dark Knight Rises is as long as the first Lord of the Rings movie, theatrical.
Yeah, for sure. If not longer, no. But...
I do like every genre and every like that. I think that's my greatest strength. Is like I'm like in life. I'm super not picky. Like I can eat any food.
Swiss Army knife.
Movies, I'll just watch them. I can watch a '50s musical that people are like, "Why are you watching that?" That's really like, it's a girl.
I love
movie.
musicals.
I'm like, no, I love exactly. I love I'll watch a Judy Garland musical, no problem, and thoroughly enjoy it. And then I'll watch any I watch like B horror flicks all the time. Like I'm very like a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah,
which also makes me like everything. So people are like, "Well, Matt, you like everything. So when you say this movie's good, it's not always reliable."
Take it with a grain of salt. Yeah, there's some tough recommendations in the past. I've not been able to get into musicals personally. I haven't seen that many or even tried, but I actually tried watching Tick Tick Boom, maybe, and I've only heard good things too. So maybe I'm a huge outlier here, but I watched like the first 20 minutes, maybe just wasn't in the mood, just could not get into it.
Yeah, and I actually like and this comes back to like the first time I saw The Dark Knight, because one of the first musicals I've ever watched came out on my birthday, and The Dark Knight came out 2 days before my birthday, and this musical, well, I think they came out at the same time actually, like the exact same time, and on my birthday. What?
Was it Sweeney Todd?
No. So on my birthday, my mom says, I'm 11 years old. My mom says to me, she's like, "Hey Nezz, I want us to go see the midnight release of Mamma Mia for your birthday tonight." And I looked at her and I'm like, "Are you kidding me right now? Mom, I'm an 11-year-old. I'm about to be a teenager. You want me to go see Mamma Mia on my birthday, midnight release? Or what are we doing right now? Do you not know who I am?" And she's like, "Oh, like, you're gonna love it." And I was like, whatever. And I think I had just seen The Dark Knight. And I was like, what are we doing? Like, I want to go see The Dark Knight, man. And so I was like, I wanted to make her happy, so I was like, "Oh, I'll go see it." So we went, me, my aunt, my cousin, and my mom. I walked out of there and I said, "Mom, I'm coming to see this movie tomorrow."
Nice.
I loved it, man. I loved it. And the new one came out with Lily James. I'm a huge, I find Lily James beautiful. And the new one came out. I like that one too. And musicals are fun, man. They stick in your head. And, I talked about Mary Poppins. "Let's Go Fly a Kite" is such a good song. And so, I love musicals because, they stay stuck in your head, like the songs, and you're just, and I'm a huge, like, soundtrack guy, and, like, I keep bringing up Top Gun because I freaking love Top Gun but I keep bringing it up out of nowhere for no reason.
It fits.
But
it fits in the convo.
At the end, at the, like, the very, very last scene, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but like at the very last scene when the Lady Gaga song hits, it's been on the radio forever.
Mm.
But when that Lady Gaga song hit in that movie, I was like, fuck, that's so good, you know. But yeah, it's musicals are fun. They're fun. You got to take them with what they are. You know, musicals. The one thing that musicals can't do is they can't take themselves too seriously, because they need to be fun. They need you can't really. You can, but like at the same time, we're going to see a musical not to rack our brains about what's going on in the story, and like it needs to follow a certain flow. But at the same time, we just want to go there and enjoy the music, enjoy the movie, and you know that's what it is.
I don't have anything to add on that. That's exactly my thoughts.
And
so start with Mamma Mia and then just.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like and. For the life of me, musicals are sort of escaping me right now, but
have you watched the old ones, Nezz? Like old class, like Singing in the Rain and those.
Singing in the Rain, obviously, yeah.
Sound of Music, actually classic movie.
Sound of Music is a classic. Musical, yeah. Like Singing in the Rain and Sound of Music are like.
See, I can mess with Sound of Music. I've actually seen that one a few times. One of my mom's favorite movies, so I'll dabble with the musicals in that situation, but overall, just hasn't been it for me. But I'll give them a shot. Eventually, we'll do a musical pod down the road, maybe.
Yeah, man. We'll do a musical pod where we sing.
I mean, one thing at a time. We'll start with just watching the movies and then see if I develop some sort of singing abilities and. We'll see where it goes. Yeah.
You mentioned westerns earlier, Nezz. Have
you
watched any like Italian spaghetti westerns?
Yes, I have, and I think that. Let me. I just want to pull up my westerns list here. I think that one of the great movies of all time is The Good, the Bad, the Ugly.
Yes.
Right. And Ennio Morricone's theme of like the now. I think like it's such a good movie, like from top to bottom. A Few Dollars More is really good. Once Upon a Time in the West is really good. High Noon is really good. That's an old one.
Seen that.
So a lot. I love westerns, and I Unforgiven is good, and here I am again bringing up Top Gun, but Val Kilmer in what's it called?
I was gonna say for some reason I feel like that was gonna be forced, but
no. Oh my God, the movie escapes me, but Val Kilmer is in Tombstone. Yes, thank you. But Val Kilmer's performance in Tombstone is sensational. It really is.
I love Western.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, I mean I love Westerns too, and like there's all the classic ones with like Clint Eastwood or John Wayne or like you mentioned Gary Cooper, but like there's some like really dirty spaghetti westerns that are like the original Django movie.
Yes.
Franco Nero, and there's movies like also with Franco Nero, Keoma, like. Those are like the more like exploitative spaghetti westerns, but I'm obsessed with those. Another one is like For the Apocalypse. They're all like Italian movies, like badly dubbed too, but like those are fun ass movies, and they're not as polished as Sergio Leone's movies. But
that's the thing, and it's sort of in the same. You have to take westerns seriously. But they're fun movies, man, and that's what you want with westerns. Like you want to watch it, and like it's it's intense, but at the same time, like you want to watch it and be like, that's a fun movie, And I think one of the most perfect movies is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I think from a storytelling point of view, I think William Goldman, like who wrote the script, he wrote the book and then wrote the script. I think I think that script is really well done, and Paul Newman and Robert Redford are absolute kings. Like every time they're on the screen together, it's and speaking of which, those two, one recommendation that I do have is The Sting. and it's with both of them, and it's so good. It's sort of like a, it's not like a con man movie, and you get completely fooled at the end. Everyone and it's so good. So the Sting is very good, but yeah, when Paul Newman and Robert Redford are on the screen together, you can't miss. But
think of the best actors now. It's like them two at the time, right? Like
yes,
the best actors right now in a movie, like kind of like Leo and Brad Pitt.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, for me, like them two is like Leo and Brad Pitt, and I think that and Brad Pitt's favorite movie is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and I think if you look at the persona of Brad Pitt, he goes about himself the exact same way Robert Redford does. Like they look the same and they act the same, and so for that, yeah, it's who and I know you guys are the podcasters, and I don't want to take too much time. I don't know how long we've been doing this, but who for you guys are your favorite actors?
Current, like right now, or
any actor.
Okay, you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go ahead, Matt.
It's like I have like Robert De Niro's my favorite actor. So Robert De Niro, Jack Lemmon, James Stewart, Laurence Olivier, Al Pacino, Daniel Day-Lewis. I like Christian Bale a lot. So many. Cary Grant, I'm obsessed with Cary Grant.
Cary Grant is great. Jack Lemmon's great.
Lemmon, Some Like It Hot is like one of my favorites.
Oh, it's so funny.
And The Apartment.
I think that, and I know I sort of said this, I was probably really dramatic when I said it about Andrew Garfield, but I do think he's a great actor. But you mentioned Christian Bale, and I think that Christian Bale is, and I get a lot of flack for this, but I think that like in the last 20 years, like 10, 15 years, I think Christian Bale's, like, I think he's top 3. I don't like it. He can do anything, right? And you see his body transformations all the time, and I think he is so good at everything, and he's the villain in, is it the new
the next Thor movie?
Thor, yeah. So he does everything, man, and
versatile.
He kills it. He really does.
And actually, that's another good point in favor of The Dark Knight, that when we were talking about actors in that movie, Matt said that only really Heath Ledger delivered an iconic performance in that movie. I counter that there are a bunch of other great actors, Christian Bale being one of them, of course. And to answer your question, Nez, I have a hard time actually answering like favorite movie of all time and favorite actor. I kind of just float on like who I'm feeling or what I'm liking. It goes through waves, ups and downs, but obviously, like Leo, I feel like never really misses in the movies I see him in, so I'd have to say he's up there for me. Brad Pitt, I always like, and I feel like these are easy answers, but they're easy answers for a reason in that they're phenomenal actors, and I love them in pretty much everything they do. Another one that's a classic of mine is, and this is like more of a minor actor, there's more in supporting roles, but I'm a big Jon Bernthal guy. I've said that a bunch on the pod.
Jon Bernthal is great.
He actually has a show on Crave that I'm going to start up. We Own This City. I haven't seen it yet. I'm preemptively recommending it to the people. Apparently it's solid. I don't know if you've seen it. We're going to talk about it, Nez, but...
No, I haven't seen, but Jon Bernthal is really good. And you're right, he is more of a supporting role, but he kills it, man. I think he does a really, really good job. And every time I see him on screen, I think, like, man, he's underrated. Like
100%.
We don't talk about him much, but I think he is perfect for like that supporting role. Like, he's there. He does a good job. We don't see him too often, but like when he's there, he has a huge impact.
And that's probably why we're a fan of his. Like maybe if he was the lead, we wouldn't be. Like, maybe
exactly.
He'd do something, he'd be overacting or something. Like he's staying in his lane, he's killing it, but now he's the lead in this show. So I'm excited to see what he does now as the alpha dog on this show. So looking forward to watching that.
I always thought Bernthal was like our generation. He's the Willem Dafoe of our generation, because Willem Dafoe is like the best character, like supporting actor ever.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe is
to this day, he's still like made like 3 movies last year.
Yeah, he's a national treasure. He really is.
He's amazing.
You know,
Platoon is one of my favorite war movies. So.
Is it Platoon?
Platoon, yeah.
Yeah, he's war movies are one that I love, but yeah, I think that one guy that you mentioned Jimmy Stewart. Yeah. I mean that's a given. Everything starts with Jimmy Stewart, but you know, I think that my favorite when it comes to like being like as good as he is Daniel Day-Lewis. I right. You know, I watched when I watched Lincoln, I actually thought that Daniel Day-Lewis was Abraham Lincoln. I said, this is like Abraham Lincoln came back to life and shot this movie for us. Like, and I'm dead serious. I was like, dude, like this is this is Abraham Lincoln. Like, prove me otherwise. Like, please. Yeah. Like and he, you know, he's very methodical in how he does it. Apparently he's like legit, like a nut job. Like when he takes on a role.
Method acting, goes to the extreme.
One you mentioned Paul Thomas Anderson, Eric, I think earlier.
I think that was Matt actually.
Oh, Matt. Yeah. One of Paul Thomas Anderson's films that I really enjoyed was The Phantom Thread with Daniel Day-Lewis. It's a very slow movie. It's not for everyone, but his performance is off the charts. So
really, even over There Will Be Blood.
Oh no, like I don't like There Will Be Blood is his best, but like I'm just saying like. For the movies that are not talked about enough, The Phantom Thread, he's like sensei, and the other one there, the Scorsese one, I keep forgetting names. The name of New York. Gangs of New York. He's Will as the butcher. Did you know he spent like 3 months with a butcher to prepare for that role?
Crazy.
Yeah, he does his prep. And maybe to round out our movie genres discussion, we put a poll up on Insta just to get the sense of what our listeners' favorite genres were. So the options were action, drama, comedy, and only could put 4. So I put other as the other option. And I was surprised that action actually won by a landslide. There was a majority of action votes coming in at number 1, comedy number 2, and then drama at 3. I do feel like obviously some people just didn't vote, so I mean us drama lovers didn't get the representation that we should have, but it was just all action. And I feel like action and comedy, actually, 2 genres we didn't really focus on at all this episode. Curious as to your thoughts on those poll results.
I'm not surprised. I would have to say, because I would think, you know, those are 2 genres where you can really just pick any action movie and pick any comedy and just enjoy with your friends, and you know, it's you know, on a date night or whatever. You don't want to watch really a full-blown drama on a first date that makes you cry, you know. Like, you want to watch an action movie, you want to watch a comedy, and you know, you want to laugh and be like entertained throughout and see explosions. And so I'm really not surprised by that at all. And because I do think that they are the most like very popular genres. But once again, and this all comes back to, like, you know, Shakespeare, but you can just easily put action and comedy inside drama. You'll see like drama in those genres all the time. And if you think about it, those dramatic moments in those movies are the best part of those movies. So it really is. It does all come down to drama, and I mentioned Shakespeare is all because of him, really.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And it's like horror is my second. Like I'm obsessed with horror films, and the best horror films are the ones that are more like dramatic and actually like well made, and not just exploitative and money shots. Like
and that's
drama's everything. Yeah.
Yes, and that's one thing with horror. Like I like horror films. Like I don't really watch them, but I will if I sort of have to. But the thing with horror films, especially like recently, is that, and I mentioned this about like musicals too, but like horror films, they seem like they don't take themselves like seriously, which is like very dangerous, especially for horror films. Like you have like you have to take these horror films seriously, and it's not about like scaring the audience. It's about like it's really about the story, and like the scaring will come on its own. But at the same time, like you need to start, if the horror films don't take themselves seriously, the audience won't either. And I think that's what's been going on with horror films, like a little bit too much, is like it's too much of a like, oh, like come watch this for fun, or like, you know, I hope 14-year-olds with their friends come watch this, right? And like I think that's what's been going on too much with horror films, in my opinion. But you know what, I'm saying that because but I haven't really been watching a lot of them.
Yeah, like those the movies you're talking about do come out every year, but also like the 2010s. Like I'm really deep into horror. Like the 2010s is like the second resurgence of like a golden age of horror films. Actually, like a lot of good ones came out. They're just all indie films that will never see the light of day in a movie store or in theaters. They just come out like
right.
But
indies, and they're phenomenal.
Also, though,
I can send you a list of like 100 movies from the past decade, as voted by like just like podcasters and stuff like that, and like they're just movies you've never heard of, but you watch them, you're like, this is good shit. But a lot of them tie into the drama genre and other genres, right? They're French horror.
Yes.
Well, I know, Matt, you're good to give like recommendations. Pretty much every episode, at the end of our episodes, for a few horror movies that don't get the recognition or general like promotion that they should in mainstream like movie consumers audience. I don't know. Anyways, you know what I'm trying to say. And I do feel though, Nezz, like to your point about not taking horror seriously, I'm not sure I followed everything there, but I do feel like it's a misconception on the audience's part that horror isn't really or shouldn't be taken seriously, and that it is just like jump scares. And you and I probably, I want to say I've seen a similar amount of horror. Like I've gotten more into it through Matt. And as I've seen these movies, horror is a genre I completely discredited before and just thought of as like, okay, it's cheap thrills and people just like the rush of being scared. But there's a lot more to these horror movies. And I would cite like Get Out as the first movie that really shifted my perception towards horror movies. And there are a ton of other movies like that out there, like Matt said, that have dropped in the 2010s and continue to be released every year. We just don't really hear about them. So it's kind of up to us now to do more research and enjoy these genuinely good movies.
And that's to I forgot to mention this, but you're right. And Get Out, for example, and Us, I didn't particularly like. I thought Us was okay. I love Get Out, but you know, Hereditary is another one. Those are movies that really take themselves seriously, right? And they do a good job. And you know, remember when Get Out came out, everyone was talking about it. Like everyone was talking about it, and that's because like Jordan Peele like really takes, and he's coming out with a new one. I forget what it's called, but the trailer came out today. So yeah, like those are movies that take themselves seriously and like they're really good. You know, like so that's sort of what I meant, you know, like but like the jump scares and like all that, like it's all fun and games, but like at the end of the day, like you're walking out of a horror movies that don't take themselves seriously, you're walking out there and you're laughing with your friends and like you know, but the ones that do take themselves seriously, like Hereditary, Get Out, Us, you're walking out there and you're like, holy crap, you know, like that was a different experience, you know. So
Hereditary is a modern day classic, like into like it's like The Omen, Rosemary's Baby, and The Exorcist in the 70s. Hereditary is that for the 2010s.
Yeah.
And I've seen it enough times; it's a bona fide classic, in my opinion.
I actually haven't seen it, so
yeah, I
should probably get on that.
That movie, Nez, like after I saw it at the theater, Hereditary, went alone to watch the movie. Nobody wanted to come with me. I couldn't, like, I was speechless.
I don't believe
I didn't want to like talk to anybody for like a whole day after. I was like, oh.
Yeah, and Toni Collette does a great job in that movie.
What a great actress.
Yeah, she rocks, man. She's great.
But action and comedy, of course, are going to be the number one genres because it's like, not to like, I don't want to sound like a snob or anything, but it's like, it's the casual fans like favorite genres. And comedy is my least favorite genre, actually.
Me too.
Horror and dramas. Like, I like that. Like, I need to be stimulated, and horror stimulates me a lot. Like, I really get into it, and I get the strongest reactions and the ones that are more dramatic. So,
and like, you guys are gonna hate me, but like Top Gun was really funny.
It was funny, yeah.
It was really funny. Like, there was so many good like moments. I was laughing my ass off like most of the movie because there was, but it's, you know, it's not a comedy, and it wasn't forced, and it's not like, you know, like, I don't like stand-up, like, I don't like stand-up. I don't like watching stand-up because it's so forced, and, like, you know, like, you know the punch, like, you know there's a punchline coming, right? And I thought that, like, and I'm repeating myself, but, like, Top Gun was, like, so good because, like, those comedic moments where, like, you didn't expect them and they came. And another movie that came out recently, and holy, this movie is incredible, is Everything Everywhere All at Once. If you guys have not seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, you have to watch it.
I've seen it. Matt, you haven't seen it yet still?
It's on my list. I haven't ready to go.
You have to. So I saw it with Dallas. Dallas, who you guys had on, and we didn't know anything. Like, I just saw on Twitter, like, oh, like, this movie's really good, and I was like, oh, Dallas, you want to go see it? We didn't read review. We didn't read the plot of it. Like, we didn't know. Like, I just bought the tickets and we went. I have never been in a movie theater that laughed that loud and that much in my life. It's laugh out loud funny. It is laugh out loud funny, and at the same time, it is like a really, really touching movie.
Yeah, like, it's not a comedy either. Like, I would say it's a drama first and foremost, but it is hilarious. And I do think that, in my mind, like, the best movies blend genres too. Like, you need, in my opinion anyways, you need comedy in a drama. If you're always having these serious moments, you kind of do need some lighthearted humor to ease the tension at times. Otherwise, it can just be like a depressing movie to watch.
But I can, and I can honestly say that I don't think I've ever laughed that, and it's not, like you said, it's not a comedy, but I don't think I've laughed that much at a movie for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Then you almost cry at the end, like, it's crazy. But I do think, yeah, you have to, and, like, you legit have to.
I'll watch it Sunday.
I do think that, of comedies, the first Hangover was, like, that's a really, really, really solid comedy. Like, that's a comedy that I thoroughly enjoy. I'll watch it anytime, and that's just because it's so different. You know, it's not your run-of-the-mill, like corny comedy. It's like, it was like a really good comedy.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, you mentioned Everything Everywhere All at Once as the movie you laughed the most in theaters in a long time. Well, me, Hangover is the movie I laughed the most ever in the movie theater the first time. It was actually the exact same situation or experience as you, in that I knew nothing really about The Hangover. I don't know if it was already starting to blow up a little and we decided to go see it because of that, but I forget. Had never seen a trailer, just went in there, and from the first scene on was just in tears the whole movie. So, and that's the beauty too. And then we've talked about comedies quite a few times on the pod. I don't need to fully get into it, but that's like the beauty of comedy, is that you get that escapism, but there's also the realism and the relatability. And then just the laughter is like a nice escape, especially if you're in the Great Depression watching these movies. Like, you need some laughs, right? And comedy movies give that to you almost every single time whenever they're good movies. So,
and that's why, like, Charlie Chaplin was so famous, because he like made people laugh so much in that time, because, like, and it's something that, like, he did so well. and that's why he was so popular, is because of like how, like, just by his movement and like the things around him like made people legit burst out laughing, and that's why it's, you know, we credit most of it like a lot to him.
The founding father of comedy. Yeah, I mean, I think like that's all I had. Go ahead, Matt.
So we could go on all.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Oh yeah,
with this topic, it's so open ended that there's no like everything everywhere all at once. Basically, we could go in any direction here, but I think be a good place to wrap it up there. From your most favorite genre, drama, to least favorite in comedy. A nice full circle moment there. Yeah, Nezz, absolutely crushed it on here. It was a pleasure having you on. Do you have any final notes for the listeners?
No notes. I really appreciate you guys having me on. You know, like you said, I could talk about this all night. But no, hey, thank you so much for having me. Movies are the best. They're the best escape, in my opinion. And you know, I hope everyone just watches movies and loves movies. You know, that's just it. It's that simple.
Yep. Great.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Nezz. You were a phenomenal guest, and we could have talked for hours.
Yeah, we could have, but thank you. No, I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, cheers, man.